Hello, we are Team 4F and today we're going to talk about the five key points that we learned during our semester in MDP1. We will talk about the role of business in society today and about the necessity of companies being socially responsible. Furthermore, we would like to discuss the roles of business in terms of globalisation, internationalisation and the way in which these have changed and affected our society. At the end, we are going to outline the importance of negotiation and having good business deals. The role of business in society. As the size of a business organisation increases, its influence on economy, society and the environment. Big corporates usually employ thousands of people, exploit a great part of physical resources of a region and give working contracts to many other enterprises. An unethical or responsible behaviour of big corporates due to their size and large scale of operation could possibly lead to a great environmental disaster, to an increase of unemployment and deterioration of a local economy, or even arouse social discrimination based on gender, race, ethnicity. An ethical and socially responsible multinational corporation must always consider its impact on a wide range of domains. In order to do this, the organisation must follow business and social ethical codes that are acceptable by the majority of its stakeholders and the society as a whole. Corporate social responsibility. Businesses have a huge amount of power and influence, and so it's important that they act in a socially responsible and ethical way, especially large and multinational businesses. CSR is about how companies manage the business processes to produce an overall positive impact on society. Many companies today embed CSR into the core of their business's operations, as it can be said that it is key to winning over consumers. Corporate social responsibility is linked and is very similar to business ethics. CSR is the commitment of businesses to behave ethically. Types of CSR include environment, ethical labour practices and philanthropy. CSR and success. Sustainability isn't the importance for people and the planet, but also is vital for business success. This means that businesses' responsibilities not only include contributing and improving to the economy, it also needs to be ethical in order to have any success. Having effective corporate social responsibility within a business will give them a positive reputation, positive publicity and therefore an increase in staff motivation. However, many authors support that the idea that stock prices reflect not only on the economic position and potential of a company, but also people's view on what is acceptable corporate behaviour. On the other hand, organisations must show accountability and reliability by following in a voluntary basis ethical principles and thus contributing with a more moral way to society. The financial crisis of 2008. In 2008, the world economy faced its most dangerous crisis since the Great Depression of the 1930s. The contagion, which began in 2007 when sky-high home prices in the United States finally turned decisively downward, spread quickly, first to the entire US financial sector and then to the financial markets overseas. The carnage was not limited to financial sector, however, as companies that normally rely on credit suffered heavily. Share prices plunged throughout the world. The Dow Jones Industrial Average in the US lost 33.8% of its value in 2008, and by the end of the year, a deep recession had enveloped most of the globe. Origins. It began with mortgage dealers who issued mortgages with terms unfavourable to borrowers, who were often families that did not qualify for ordinary home loans. Some of these so-called subprime mortgages carried low teaser interest rates in the early years that ballooned to double-digit rates in later years. Some included prepayment penalties that made it prohibitively expensive to refinance. These features were easy to miss for the first-time home buyers, many of them unsophisticated in such matters, who were beguiled by the protest that, no matter what their income or their ability to make a down payment, they could own a home. Most economists, analysts and executives have been the source of the problem, while robust enterprises have to be the core of the solution. Enough of the abstract measures and disconnected policies of the economists. Enough of the wolves of Wall Street on the backs of American enterprise. Enough of the mercenaries in the executive suits and the elites in the boardrooms. The crisis unfolds. As long as housing prices kept rising, everyone profited. Mortgage holders and inadequate sources of regular income could borrow against their rising home equity. When the housing bubble burst, more and more mortgage holders defaulted on their loans. By 2008, the mid-slump in housing prices that had begun in 2006 had become a free fall in some places. The first major institution to go under was Countrywide Financial Corp, the largest American mortgage lender, finally purchased by Bank of America. Continues. The market bid down share prices of Lehman Brothers and Merrill Lynch to other investment banks with exposure to mortgage-backed securities. Under pressure from the Treasury, Merrill Lynch agreed on September 14 to sell itself to the Bank of America. Other banks also foundered, including some of the largest. In November, the Treasury shored the Citigroup by guaranteeing $250 billion of its risky assets and pumping $20 billion directly into the bank. Demand for Treasury securities was so great that the interest rate on a 3-month Treasury bill was bid down practically to zero. In September 18, meeting with members of Congress, Fed by Chairman Ben S. Bernanke was heard to remark that if someone did not do something fast by the next week, there might not be an economy to rescue.
Globalisation. Globalisation is used to describe a variety of economic, cultural, social and political changes that have shaped the world over the past 50-odd years. From the much celebrated revolution in information technology to the diminishing of national and geopolitical boundaries in an ever-expanding transnational movement of goods, services and capital. Benefits. It creates jobs for people, leads to economic growth, increases competition between companies, and free trade allowing for lower prices and higher choices for consumers. Costs. Dilution of traditional cultures and beliefs, inequalities between countries, increased environmental costs due to increased use of raw materials, smaller companies at a disadvantage as they can't benefit from economies of scale, and increased dependency on other countries can lead to a negative economic shock. In other words, globalisation is a topic which is constantly debated as to who it benefits more, although it has created some benefits which favour big corporate companies rather than the people. Globalisation will continue to be criticised for making the rich richer and the poor poorer.
Negotiation was one of the most interesting topics we learned during first semester, as we were able to put theory into practice through this role play that we're assigned. Negotiation actually is a mutual persuasion process. Deals are rarely closed after the first offer. There are many counter offers from both parties until an agreement is reached. Counter offers are very important because they mediate the effect of the first offer on subsequent steps in the negotiation process. Demands concession, of course, from both sides, and the goal is to find terms of agreement, and thus we can make good business deals. And the 5-step process of a negotiation is preparation and opening, getting to know one another, discussion, statement of goals and objectives, and the timing of the initial offer is very, very important. Propose, bargain, disagreement and conflict leading to compromises, and finally close and agree, agreement in principle or settlement. There are 2 main strategies to follow, hardline bargaining strategy and softline bargaining strategy. The first one suggests aggressive and extreme offers and minimizes one's own concessions, as a negotiator wants to gain massive profits, not give to the other side any more value than necessary. Whereas the other strategy suggests that unilateral concessions can ensure a give and take among the negotiating parties, and we can build trust and avoid the cost of lengthy and competitive zero-sum bargaining, and thus manage to transform the negotiation into a problem-solving situation. The most important thing that people forget is that it's a skill that needs to be practiced. We're looking forward learning even more things during second semester, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.